when you're bored of the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer claymation things and all of that, which is impossible to be bored by those things. Anyway, here's what I want to talk about today. This is the second Tuesday, so it's our MD-led mastermind, and unfortunately, you drew the short straw, and you get me today. We've had two really, really good ones so far. I think Alan did one 2 months ago about apps that realtors use, if you remember. Last month, we had the privilege of listening to some newer agents talk about why they're successful, what they're doing. And today, since we're closing in on 2019 and business plans are supposed to be in your MD's hands or close to it, I really want to unpack these business plans to see if we can't all be better at them, get more out of them, put more into them, all of that stuff. So my thought today was just to walk through our business plan and not have you answer every single thing, but there's a few things that I think bear some discussion that would be worthwhile for us to talk about as a group. So, all of that being said, what's the other chat? Jason, I'm not coming this weekend, okay? I'm really sorry. I'm bummed. I'm not going to be at the holiday party. I actually wanted to go, but the Maves group said no, and they carry some weight, and so I don't get to go because of the Maves group. So all of you in the Colorado parties, take your frustrations out on Kelly and Jamie and crew, okay? Excellent. I know you do anyway. All right. Let me just share my screen real quick. And hopefully we're going to look at that in a little bit. But here's what I want to show you, PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Hopefully you've all got this completed or you're in the midst of completing it. And again, we're not going to walk through this every single line, but there's a few of the bigger questions that I'm really fascinated by the way realtors think. As you all know, I'm not a real estate person by trade. And so I don't always think the same, and I love what you guys bring, and you teach me something every single time. So the questions that I'm going to ask are things that I'm most interested in learning about so I can help my agents here in Sun Valley as well as any of you as the case may be. So how is this even feeling? For some of you, this might be your first business plan that you've ever done, or it's different than the Tom Ferry one. I'm just curious, is it fun? Do you hate it? Does it make you pucker up? Are you getting something out of it? Is it like, oh God, I have to do this so that Keith doesn't come and scream at me or whatever? Like, tell me how this feels.
I mean, I like it. I mean, I didn't really do a business plan when I first started. Julie and I kind of did one for the fourth quarter of this year. And if you follow it, it should work, right? And I think having somebody, kind of look after you and make sure that you accomplish your goals, to hold you accountable is probably pretty key to make this all work. And I mean, I'm excited to actually do a full business plan for a full year. So, I mean, it's interesting to, kind of put yourself, like yourself right now next year. And are you going to be able to accomplish those goals? And are these goals too, far-fetched, or, are they actually realistic? And, I think that's kind of maybe a little bit of an issue of what I've had come across.
Yeah. That's great. And one thing that I'm always worried about with these business plans is like you of course want to reach high, aim high, all those good things. But if you do it too high and beyond what you can actually accomplish, do you then end up feeling like a failure? I had a couple agents here in Sun Valley talk with me quite significantly about that. And so that's something you have to find that balance of like dream big, but be realistic so you don't inevitably fall short. But Josh, I'm glad to hear that. You said you did one for the fourth quarter with Julie. Did it change the way you operated in the fourth quarter?
I mean, I think so. I was more focused on, growing my database and, making sure that I do my daily activities, like my perfect day, and kind of holding myself accountable. Did I do an open house this week? Or, did I, do my, weekly touches on my sphere of influence, or, my Facebook post, or whatever it may be that, I was supposed to do that day or that week. It was pretty cool to, actually have something in place and not kind of just winging it.
Yeah, that's great. The more you wing it, if you're successful, you can't replicate it, because what I wing, I can't even remember. And so that's nice to have a little bit of a tracking mechanism, but it also helps guide you as well. Thanks a lot for that, Josh. Who else has some thoughts about how this has felt?
We did our team retreat over the weekend, and so we all worked on our business plans on the team. I like that it's shorter, more condensed than the Tom Ferry one previously. Everybody kind of got hung up on page 5 because the conversion rates there a little bit confusing for everybody. So it was a tough one.
What part was, Kelly? Sorry.
Just the table where you've got the prospecting conversion rates. It just took it takes some time to get through that part of it.
Yeah. So the number crunching and part of the idea of a business plan is that it becomes some math. There's basically a math problem in there, an equation that if you get it right, you're gonna be able to hit your numbers, because Kelly's been at this for a while. She knows every 40 conversations or every 20 conversations she makes, he gets a listing or a buyer or a deal. And so hopefully that becomes a math equation, but the less experience you have, the harder that is. That's why that table's there. It kind of befuddled me a little bit too, Kelly, when I first looked at it. So it's just meant to be a guide, but newer agent has to make more contacts because you just don't have that book of business. You don't have those people that lean on you. So Kelly, just out of curiosity, what's your number in terms of how many? Well, let me ask this, Kelly. How many sides does the Maze Group want to do in 2019?
132.
132. Okay, it sounds like a math equation, doesn't it? Like who says, 132? Like, how did you get to 132?
It was based on our team's individual goals put together.
Okay, so you had 60 maybe, and Jamie had 40, and whatever. You got to 132. Okay, and so as an experienced agent and an experienced team, what's the math going backwards? How many conversations do you have to have? You have to make to get to
that part of it because it was stumping everybody. So we figured we'd catch up on that later, and we were limited on the time we had. We focused more on our previous volume, what it's going to take moving forward, and how we're going to get there. The conversations are one thing, but how do you have those conversations?
Right. Yeah, because 100 conversations doesn't mean anything if they're not stats. So that's good. And I'm a little shorter because it was a big concern of mine. We used the Tom Ferry one last year, and of course that's like the gold standard. And so I was worried as we create our own, is it like, what are you guys trying to do here? Who do you think you are, Tom Ferry? And we just wanted something that was more manageable, I guess. So I'm glad to hear that was a good thing there, Kelly. Okay, so we've heard from a fairly new agent, Josh at Vail. We've heard from a fairly experienced agent, Kelly Maves in Grand Junction. Who else has some thoughts about how this has felt or how it's been to be filling it out?
So I think that the quotas were substantially more than Tom Ferry, like more than double. That was what wasn't making sense. The gold standard for Tom Ferry was 40-1, and this is 150-1.
Okay, and I'm wondering if that's, again, I was befuddled by this a little bit too. Let me just go ahead and get to that piece.
Right.
I'm wondering
for anyone else, but that seemed a lot, which is fine if that's now like a new standard.
Yeah. So
it seems like a lot more than Tom Ferry.
We're talking about right here, right, Lee?
On page 5, there's a little like chart.
Yeah.
Lose our fearless leader.
Looks like they need to fix their internet up there, huh?
I texted him. I think he must have lost his internet. We'll see how quickly he can get back on.
Well, I mean, Julie, you should just teach the class, right?
Yikes, I don't know about that. I'll put my video back on. I figured you guys don't want to see me eat my lunch. So has anybody else gone through the math on the conversion rates? Because I do agree with Lee that the 40 to 1 was, I'm trying to find where it says a 150 to 1.
It's on page 5 for the beginner, and then it's 71. There's like a little box in the corner.
Oh, right. I see.
Prospecting conversion rates, and they just seemed really high.
Yeah, so I don't think this is an expectation. I think this is kind of what some beginners, of course, until you have your skill sets refined, what you may be looking at if you're talking to people who aren't necessarily even ready to buy real estate or qualified to buy real estate.
Totally.
You're practicing your script. I'm sure that 150 to 1 changes dramatically as soon as you get your down.
Yeah, no, it just seemed like a much higher multiplier than we've been using last year.
Well, and the 40 to 1 is a very generic conversion number, and that's average based on research, and that is probably somewhere between the 150 to 1 and the
25.
10 to 8. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Derek, and I'll be running a mastermind today. If anyone would like to join, I'll be on the call in a little bit. Lee, do you know your number? And here's the question, everybody. Do you know your number, your conversation number? Do you know what it takes? How many legit, thank you, Kelly, conversations you have to have with people out there to get a deal? Lee, do you know your number?
No, and that was what it made me realize, is that I don't know my number, but I have like a number that I strive for on a regular basis.
Okay, what's that number?
6, like 6 phone calls.
6 phone calls gets you what?
Well, I'm not sure. At this point, that was what we were working on, and I think that got to 15 deals a year.
Okay.
6 calls a day?
6 calls a day.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. That's really what it comes down to, is like, how many people should I be calling every day? So you have to like do the math to then divide it back.
So that's 120 calls a week. No, 120, 6 calls a day, 30 calls a week, 120 calls a month. So 1,400 calls a year, something like that. Gets you how many deals?
I mean, that was the 40 to 1 conversion of Tom Ferry, I think, to get to 15 deals.
Okay.
That's like the goal for this year.
All right. It's going to be different for everyone, but it's probably going to be more than you want it to be. But as Lee just said, and hopefully that sounds manageable, breaking it down into a daily number is usually something that most agents can go, oh, well, that doesn't sound quite as scary as the 250 I have to do for a month or whatever. If I do 5 a day, that should get the job done.
Right.
Or whatever that number is. So,
I mean, I have a hypothetical number of what I would like to hopefully make on a average price, at a certain percent, that way. But as far as like having a background of having, enough deals to where I can say, okay, cool, I, talked to 20 people and those 20 people got me a deal. I don't have that. So it's different for me.
Yeah. And it can be a hard number to figure, because what does a conversation even mean? Ned runs into someone in the store and talks about real estate for a second. Is that a conversation? Well, it might be. It takes a couple of years to build this track and measure system up, but at some point you should get good enough at this to know I have to make 25 connections with sphere of influence, past clients, new people. It has to be 25 touches for me to get a listing, or 25 touches for me to get a sale. And at some point you'll get that number, and then you can do a much better job planning your time and knowing what your year will be like and how much time you have to expend doing that activity. But any coach out there, any business plan, anything will tell you that it's these leading indicators of being on the phone, being on your email, being texting, Facebook, instant messaging, whatever. That's what is going to get you the sales and the volume. Right? So it's the small stuff that gets the big stuff. And so you've heard me say it since last year, real estate is a contact sport. None of this is going to work if you're not doing those touches every day, whether it's 6 for Lee or maybe 12 for Josh as he's trying to build his business. Mark, you track and measure as well as anyone I coach. I don't know if your mic's working yet, but do you have a number that as you're listening to this, do you know a number?
Yeah, do you have my audio now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it was just a microphone setting on my computer. So I got that fixed. I added one little box to page 5, and that was a little box just figuring out how many days a year I work. I allowed for a couple of weeks vacation in there. I usually don't do calls on Friday afternoon. And so it broke down. I've got 192 days I can be calling, contacting clients. And so I just kind of added that little box, and then I used the 25-to-1 touches to appointments ratio out of there, and then did the math from that.
Okay. So everyone's equation will look a little different. The key here is what then? To have an equation. To have an equation that you trust, that you know will get you to your number. Okay, so I don't need to know everyone's equation, but what I do want to hear is, and just shout them out or chat them in or something. We heard Kelly's goal for her group is 132. What are some other sales goals for the year, for 2019? I want to hear a bunch of numbers.
I have 7 sides.
7 sides, 132, 7, what else?
I'm trying to do 15.
15, thank you, Lee. Bobby, Mark.
I've got 22 sides on my goal for this year.
Okay.
11 listings and 11 buyer sales.
Okay, Bobby, how many are you looking to do in 2019?
I'm looking to try and double what I've done so far. So I'm looking to try and do 28 to 30 sides.
30?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Doubling your business, that's a pretty bold thing, but hey, man, aim big. Ned, what's your number?
20.
20? Okay. Kim, you're on this. Rhonda, Jason, Michelle, who else? Robert?
Mine is 26.
I have 12 as a goal.
12 as a goal? Is that Big Godfather?
Yes.
That's the Godfather.
It's the Godfather. Who else?
This is Rhonda. I have 150.
100 and what?
50.
150.
Damn.
Excellent. Kim, Jason, Michelle, Bobby.
There's the Godfather.
106? Okay. Who is then also concerned about their average sales price and that they're trying to bump that up? And this is going to be a much more interesting discussion than just reciting a bunch of numbers. Thank you for sharing that. Bobby, what's your average sales price this year? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm sitting right at about 500,000 is my average sales
500,000.
price. Yeah,
Okay.
that's not including land. So I mean, if I throw land in, that number comes down significantly. But I have had several land transactions. But yeah, so 515 has been my average. I'm trying to bump that up to. Ideally, I'd like to get that closer to right around 900 or just over $1 million for the year, as far as average.
Okay, so you want to bump. Okay, here, let me get this right, Bobby. This is fantastic. You want to double your size from 15 or so to 30, and you want to almost double your average sales price, which if you did 30 sides at 900,000, you're close to $25, $30 million in volume for 2019. Excellent stuff. I think Bobby is running fast right now. That's great. How are you going to, and this is a question for everybody. I was just having a meeting this morning with an agent who's stuck. He's almost doubled his sides, but his average sales price stayed the same. And his goal was to bump that up more than his sides, because obviously the higher the average sales price, the less deals you have to do to hit your GCI. Okay, Bobby, you're on the spot, but I want to hear from others. How do you increase your average sales price?
By going after more expensive houses.
Okay, Josh, hold on a second. Let's let Bobby take the floor first, and then we'll get to your comment.
Well, so I think a lot of it is, I mean, part of it is what Josh said. You got to target those bigger houses. But you know, I'm already kind of working on 3 deals that'll help. You know, I mean, so the 14 sides I've done, that's only through 6 months. My year is April to April, so that's in the last 6 months. You know, so my goal, I guess I need to rephrase that, is to finish this year out with close to, yeah, so that's right. I want to hit about 28 transactions the following year and finish out this year with hopefully about, I'm shooting for about, you know, 20 sides to finish out this year. But, you know, you got to kind of put yourself out there. I mean, I'm always been a believer that, you know, if you set your goals too low and you land on them, well, kind of shame on you. I think if you set your goals high, and let's say maybe I shoot for 28 transactions and I shoot for, let's be realistic, probably more like 20 million. You know, and let's say I get 22 transactions and I hit, and I wind up finishing the year with, you know, 14 million. That's not too bad. That's more than double what I did this year in volume, and added on a few transactions. So I think that if you set your goals too small, you run the risk of hitting them. You know, so I can easily say, well, next year I'm just going to do, you know, 14 sides again, and take my volume from 4 million to 5 million. You know, and that's being safe. That doesn't put me in any kind of urgency to try and really go out there and hustle and do what I need to do to get to the next level, really.
Yeah, that's well put. And some people have more of a capacity for that type of risk or that type of push than others, and you just have to make sure you're in your comfort zone, but being pushed. So you all can gauge that in the best way possible. Josh, you made a comment. How do you increase your average sales price? You go after bigger houses. What does that even, like, what does that mean? How do you go after a bigger house? I'm picturing you running down the street. Hey, big house.
No, I mean, there's different areas that you can look for. I mean, for us, you know, you can, you know, focus your main focus on Eagle or Gypsum, right? Their selling price point is going to be a lot lower than as it would be in the town of Vail, you know? So I guess just the area you're targeting.
Okay, so you're targeting areas. Obviously, the higher the price point, the more targeted that area is probably already going to be. Did anyone increase their average sales price in 2018 over 2017? Maybe this is a way to get at this. Okay, Kelly. Luck of the stars, hairdo. What was the reason that happened?
New construction. A good chunk of my transactions come from new construction, so that increases your sales price. It's up about $100,000 over last year.
Your average sales price is up $100,000?
Yep.
That's fantastic. In that market, so you went from what, 3 to 4, 4 to 5? What? 78
now. I was 265 last year.
Excellent. Okay. Did you say no to things this year that you didn't say no to in 2017?
Not really. I have a team that supports me. So for transactions that I don't necessarily have the capacity or time to deal with at the moment, I hand off to my team. So that's a great way to do it. I don't think I said no to anything really.
Yeah. And that's so hard. Like, how do you say no to something, even if it's a $150,000 listing or a buyer? You don't say no to that. But then it's like, oh, it's as much work as.
There's maybe one or two that I should have said no to.
Yeah,
but.
yeah, no doubt. I know you all have people like, oh, I wish I would say no to them, but I can't. Let's see. Let me ask a couple of the higher producers or more experienced producers on the call if they're listening. Robert and Jen and Joni and Alan. Did you and Rhonda, did you all have any bump in average sales price in 2018? It can't all be new construction. Why else was someone able to improve their average sales price? If anyone, or was Kelly the one person who was able to do that?
I increased mine, but I can't tell you by how much because I'm looking at my spreadsheets and I don't see it. But I think
That's awesome.
I think about 50%.
Okay, well, let's pretend you know how much it was, but did you do anything different to make that happen? Josh said run after big houses. Kelly said get new developments. Joni, is there anything else that an agent can do to increase their average sales price?
You know, I sold some more expensive things this year, and prices have gone up this year in our area. I kind of like to have a balance. I like to be able to sell a few more expensive things because I work in the Ridgeway market, which is a little bit higher end market. But you know, it's nice to have that bread and butter too of the $250,000 closings on a regular basis. Okay? And then once
Sure.
get kind of a good one where you go, great, that's awesome. It's kind of a mix.
Yeah. Yeah, and no one's saying don't take some of those small things because look, if you take a listing, you've still got a sign in the yard. The agent I was talking to today had 4 sales last year because of signs. They weren't even the properties that the signs were on. But hey, I'm calling about this. Oh yeah, but let's go look at that. And made 4 sales this year because of signs. So you got to have your name out.
Customer that I sold a lot that she owned in Ridgeway, and lots in Ridgeway tend to be more expensive. And then she had some really inexpensive lots over by Blue Mesa Reservoir. But she also owns the house in Ridgeway. She calls it a cabin, but it's probably about a $600,000 or $700,000 cabin. And so I did, you know, she'd had those lots listed forever, but because of the marketing with Coldwell Banker, we got those lots sold. So, you know, hopefully I'll get the listing on that house when she decides to sell it, which I'm sure she will sometime in the near future.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I really struggle with this question. That's why I'm hammering on it, because I want to be able to give good advice about how to increase your average sales price. But what does it mean? Does it mean dressing nicer? Does it mean having a nicer car, driving a nicer? I don't know. But so that's why I'm asking those of you that have seen a bump, what you've done differently, or what you're planning to do in 2019 to up that sales price a little bit.
And it is about relationship. I've developed a lot of relationships in the Ridgeway area, and spent time, you know, with different lady groups up there and stuff. And I've developed good friendships up there, and those people are helping me build my business because they like me. Thank God. You know?
Yeah.
We talked about this exact subject at our sales meeting this morning. And because we were talking about business plans this morning, so the Vail peeps should be coming up with some ideas. One of the things that we talked about was sitting open houses for people who have listings at a higher price point that you want to target.
Another thing, Derek, that I think we can probably attribute ours to is we're focusing more on our sphere and past client database. And within that, you have move-up buyers. So when you're thinking about your buyers that you sold to a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, those are going to be your move-up buyers that are moving into a higher price point, most likely.
That's awesome. So we've got 2 really to me, tangible things that anyone can do. The new development thing might not be, there's not much new development in Sun Valley, for instance, so I couldn't advise my agents. But here are two things from Julie and Kelly, so let's unpack these real quick. Julie's saying sit open houses. Oh my goodness. Every market that's involved in this call has listings in your office that are in higher end markets than what you are currently mainly serving for the most part. And I know some of you are at the very high end of your market, but just run with this for a second. Talk to those agents that have those listings and just make sure they let you sit them on off open house times or during the open house schedule that your MLS adheres to. But just get in there, and the buyers that are coming to those houses and the agents are typically going to be at a price point that you want to be working with. So look at your office list of listings, and you can do that in IQO, you can do that in your MLS. And in your mind, circle 5 to 10 of those that you want to sit between now and the holiday season, now and January 1st. Josh had said at the outset that one of the things on his business plan, I want to do, or in the fourth quarter, thanks to Julie's help, I want to sit more open houses. Okay, make it happen. Search out those higher end listings and sit them, because those buyers are yours when they come in and they're unattended. And then all of a sudden, even though you don't have a $500,000 listing, you have a $500,000 buyer. That changes the game. So Julie, I'm really, really glad you brought that up. Kelly, your point about hitting your SOI, hitting your past clients. If you've got experience in this industry, you need to be looking at people that bought 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. People start thinking about moving 5 to 8 years after they've bought a house. And ideally, as Kelly said, if nothing bad has happened, they are ready to move to upgrade, either by area, by size, almost always by price point. Those people should be getting something from you, not like, hey, it's time to sell your house. You've been there for 5 years. What's wrong with you? But something about equity, something about a hot new market that is a little bit of a higher price point than where they are. Something about what their home is now worth, I guess same thing as equity, versus when they bought it, whatever. Give them a reason to think about moving from where they are to a higher bracket. Those people already trust you. They've used you once. Or, and we've had an agent in this office do it, hit a neighborhood where you know it's gone up by 20 or 30% in equity in the last 3 years, and send a farming card to them. Or a Kingston Lane email campaign or something saying, hey, did you know that your house could sell for $200,000 more than you bought it for in 2014, with a little asterisk saying average sales price in this neighborhood, blah, blah. And maybe they'll call you and they want to list and they want to buy. Then you got two things happening. So I hope I'm not beating dead horses here, just because I would never beat a dead horse, but I'm also hoping that I'm not telling you anything you don't want to, you already know. But man, these are two proven ways to get yourself into a higher price point. Okay, thanks so much, Julie and Kelly. Any other thoughts before we move on to a couple other things I want to discuss before recess? Anything else about average sales price increase?
I have one more idea. We talk a lot about being purposeful in how you network. So if you are going to select some events, so if you have a quota for yourself to attend a certain number of events each week or each month, what are those events and what kind of people are you networking with? What kind of price point are their properties? And so in our valley, there's a wide gamut of events. You can go to a local concert in Gypsum, or you can go to the Bravo Festival in Vail, and then you're introducing yourself to people who buy and sell at a much different price point. So just making sure you're being purposeful about what events you pick.
Really, really well said. Surround yourself with the type of people that you want to buy and sell with. That's really how it works. And also, don't be afraid as a younger agent, even though you might get told no every time, to talk to your more experienced agents who have higher end listings about co-listing something, about coming in as not a teammate, because not everyone wants to work on a team, but one of the ways to get your name associated with higher end listings is to actually have one and to be a co-lister. A of that sort of thing. As well as, if you remember from the Kingston Lane Mastermind a week or so ago, you don't even have to promote your listings. You can promote a listing out there that you think is great and send it to someone like Josh in Vail. Where's your guys' big feeder market? Like, people come from, I mean, does anyone come to Vail? Where do they all come from? New York? I don't know. Anyway, find a couple zip codes you know people are coming from and send a Kingston Lane to those zip codes with a really cool house. Maybe use Robert's house, his listing, or find some other listing in Vail that is going to speak to the sophisticated New Yorker, and spend $100 and see if you get any leads on it.
Hey, Derek, you should plug the CBX Seller Leads program for this.
You can also get into the CBX program, which is in CB Exchange, and work that. It's probably time to do another training on that. But there's like 3 or 4 digital tool things you can use to try to appeal to higher end buyers. Is that fair enough to say right now? We can probably move on because that horse is dead. Indeed done. Okay. Here's a question I had, and it goes to the part about where you look at 2018, 2017, 2016, how many transactions, but where are they coming from? Was anyone surprised about the number, either the lack of or the plethora of transactions coming from a certain part that you did not expect? I said plethora.
How many of you guys pay for your leads? Nobody. Nobody pays for leads? Robert, you buy leads?
I do.
Who's that, Rhonda?
Rhonda.
Yes, I do.
Robert, you use Zillow. Rhonda, and maybe other things. Rhonda, what do you use?
Zillow, Boomtown.
Okay.
What's your conversion ratio look like on those?
We're working on it to get better.
Just curious.
Kimberly, what do you use? Why don't you type that in? I didn't hear it. I think there's a weird bug in the microphone there. Okay, so Julie, why are you asking that question? That's interesting. I didn't expect that to be the question you asked.
Well, some of the folks that I'm coaching, some buy leads and some don't, and some have great conversion. Some have very low conversion. Traditionally, that's one of the lowest conversion lead generation sources in the industry. But it's so tempting. People think that it's got to work. If I'm paying for it, it's got to work. So I just like to kind of keep asking what people's conversion is like there. Sometimes you get surprisingly high, but usually it's very low.
But you're right. It's tempting, and you get a lot of activity. Probably 4/5 of them are not even worth pursuing. I'm going to send out a link a little bit later. I was on a Kingston Lane live Facebook today. I just saw it and I was like, jumped on, and Steve, the owner, was talking about systems to make sure that when you get leads, you're not wasting time with them. And so I'm going to forward that show on to you because it's pretty interesting. Julie, I think I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I have very few agents that get much business out of the leads that they purchase. And this isn't to say, hey, if you're on this call, quit spending money on leads. It's not what we're saying at all. I think what we're saying is, did you break that down? And this is what I'm saying. Where are your buyers and where are your deals coming from? Someone tell me what the highest number on their list was, percentage-wise, in terms of deals in the last 3 years.
Eric, I had a number for online leads. It was 39% of my business over the last 3 years.
Now, Mark is, I think, an anomaly, and so that's why we're not saying don't do them. We're saying be thoughtful about it. So,
when you say online leads, are they leads because you're getting them through your own website, that you're not paying for the leads necessarily?
In my case, we were with a different company prior to Distinctive Properties. We just came online in July of 17 with Distinctive, and our office prior to that spent $20,000, $30,000 a year on lead programs for agents. and I closed a fairly high percentage of what I was given out of those.
So those are probably like search engine optimization programs and things that are attracting leads through the web.
Yep, a lot of it came through the through Realtor.com leads, through either Tiger Leads or one other there.
Okay, and Kim said Realtor.com is her lead source, 10% conversion. Okay, so that's good. What I've seen in my office is, and this is what surprises agents, is that about 2/3 of business comes from the SOI and past clients. And that doesn't surprise me, but it surprises agents, I think, because they're always talking about leads. And Mark, this isn't like you're full of it, I'm just saying. Agents are always talking about leads. They're always talking about where do I get new business or whatever. And the bulk of their business comes from the people they know and the people they've worked with. And I'm just wondering, I just want to make sure that you haven't skipped over that as far as thinking about where your business is and what you need to be paying attention to. So the guy I was with this morning, he has had 19 deals this year, and 14 of them, I think, are from SOI and past clients. The thinking being he needs to do even more work with them in 2019 to hit his goals. If that's where his business is coming from, and you've heard me say this in different ways, don't go find a different way to do it. Get better at what's working for you. Get better at what's working for you and push that even more. So that's what's working for him. For others, it might be, as Mark was saying, it might be leads coming from search engine optimization. For others, it might be agent-to-agent referrals and that sort of thing. But whatever's working for you, double down on it, especially as we're going to head into 2019 with a little bit of a tiny bit of a slower market, not much. And that'll be our next mastermind, by the way. So any other surprises about transactions over the last 3 years? I was hoping someone would say, yeah, I can't believe it. All of mine are in my family. It's crazy. I had no idea, or something like that.
I had one other unique statistic, Derek, when I did this business plan here 2 weeks ago, is my average listing price the last 3 years is $291,800. But my average buyer price for buyer sales is $475,000. And a little bit of that, I think, is to Josh's point about a lot of my sales in the past were a condo or townhome, starter home, first home, and then they're now move-up buyers. And now they're moving up into bigger, higher price single-family homes. But I thought that was interesting that my listing side was so low, and maybe I've neglected some of the better markets on the listing side of things and just focused more on condo townhouse stuff, I guess.
Right.
That was
That's one
interesting.
way to look at it. Another way would be like, dude, if your buyers are twice as high as your sellers, do more with buyers.
Yep.
I don't know. It depends, but I think that's what's so great about this is like you can really unpack all of your business and really see those distinctions, because we just talk in big generalities. Okay, 19 sales for $7 million of production. Well, that only that's like the title of your number story. But you can break it down: buyers versus listings. You can break it down like Bobby was doing, residential sales versus land sales. Totally different stories. Where in the market, out at Redlands, Ridgeway, in the canyon, wherever. Knowing those things is going to help you do even better, I think, as you move forward. And it means do more of it, or it means, boy, I'm ignoring this completely. But somehow you're going to act based on all of those numbers. Okay, a couple of things. We have 13 minutes left, and I had two other questions. So I'm going to ask just one last one. Then we're going to look really quickly at IQO so you all know how to get your transaction reports. I'm sure you do because you're all experts in your field. But anyone have a game, except Josh, anyone have a game changer that you're excited about in 2019 or that you've already put in place and you're just like, oh man, something's good is going to happen here? Any big comets run through your business? Any big risks anyone is going to be taking in 2019?
Derek, with some of my coaching clients are really excited about the impact that their scheduling, their consistency with their scheduling is having on their business. So I'm hoping that will continue for them in 2019.
That's awesome. And shame on me for like even phrasing it in the business planner right now is like, it needs to be some crazy thing you're going to do is change your game. Julie is so right. What's really going to change your game is two things: time management and making contacts. Those two things will change your game every single time. Think of the sport. Think of your favorite sport. I'll choose football because football's in the midst of things right now. A Hail Mary is not going to change your game 99% of the time. What's going to change the game is every offensive lineman making their blocks every single time. Is every wide receiver making their cuts every single time. The fundamentals are, it should be DUH, fundamentals is what the game changer is. You know, like Al Javed. That's what changes the game. And so, again, shame on me for saying, hey, what big risk are you going to take? Don't take a big risk. Just do the things that got you to where you are in the first place even better in 2019. That's the game changer. In fact, I wish everybody would have realized that was a trick question to say there is no game changer. I do the solid things every day, and I'm gonna come out ahead. So that was that. Unless someone, of course, wants to say, here's my big one. Anyone?
You know what, Derek? I've been doing this coaching thing, and I know the whole, it was interesting doing my business plan, how much of my business was sphere of influence, and I didn't realize it, right? Never analyzed it. And then, I've always got great ideas like, yeah, let's try this, let's try that. And I had this conversation with Todd, why don't we just do this sphere of influence thing? I mean, that's where your business is. And I hate the idea of calling people. I hate the idea of bothering people because, everybody gets telemarketers, call them all the time, whatever. But what was really crazy to me is when I did it and actually did it, which I didn't want to do, I really didn't want to do it, how glad those people were to hear from me. It was weird. And it was a game changer for me, like huge epiphany of like, wow, these people actually like to hear from me and they're not annoyed by getting a phone call.
That's just a great story. We should probably end it there. Like, just do that and you're going to be amazed. So whether
it's also free, it didn't cost anything, time.
Yeah. And not only is it free, but it has residual effects because you can count on your SOI way more than you can count on a new lead or someone, a cold call to talk about you. So even if the person you called isn't ready to do anything, your name's going to come up because they already trust you. So right. You're doing like 2 calls for every call you make, right? If you see it that way.
Well, and it's like has the opposite effect. You think you're bothering people, but they're actually glad to hear from you that you didn't just sell them a house and disappear. They're like, this person actually wants to talk to me and still cares about me, even though I'm not buying a house right now. You know what I mean? And you do get, it's just weird how things come up, like, yeah, actually, we've only been in this house for 2 years, but now we think we need to be on a slab. Or even today, just in what I've done today, just was weird, crazy.
That's awesome to hear. So back to the agent I was talking to earlier today, who's 70% of his business is SOI. He's committed then this first quarter to touching them better in the first quarter because he's got the newsletter, he's got the change your clocks. Please don't send that out anymore. This knows that you need to change your clock. You can stop with the change your clock thing. But he's going to send a market report in early January. Value. Here's what Sun Valley did in 2018. It's a piece of value. And then it's a great reason to have a phone call. And he hasn't done a phone call. He's done a card. He's done the newsletter, all this other stuff. But he's going to do a phone call now. Physical, like get on the phone, talk, or leave a message, whatever. Hey, just saying hi. He's going to check their Facebook first maybe and see if they've done anything fun that he can, sort of refer to. He's going to ask, did you see the market report? Did you notice that in Sun Valley or in Ketchum, blah, blah? He's bringing value even in his phone call, even though he's not making a sales pitch. So bring value to your SOI in the first quarter of 2019. They're all going to ask what? What are they all going to ask if you make contact with them? Yes, Josh, you don't even have to unmute. We know what you said. How's the market? What's going to happen in 2019? Hi, Alan. How are you, sir? Have an answer. Role play this over between now and the 31st, role play this to death so that when that person says, what's going to happen in 2019, you're like, hey, here's what is going to happen. And I'm telling you right now, this is the answer. Home prices over the last couple of years have gone like this, and now they're just going to go like this, but they're going to keep going up. They've been going up about 6% over the last 2 or 3 years. They're going to go up 3%. So we've been going at 100 miles an hour in the housing market, and we're going to slow down to about 60. But guess what? The good news is we're still going pretty fast. So when all those people on all those TV shows, I'm still role-playing and scripting right here, when they all tell you, oh, man, the recession and the houses, you just better put your money in a mattress and buy gold from my Uncle Tony. No. A slowdown is not a recession in the housing market. We've been going really fast. We're going to keep going fast, but just not as fast. That's the answer, because that's the truth. And if our next mastermind on Tuesday the 25th, yes, we're going to have one on Christmas Day. No, we're not. We're going to show you some stuff from Keeping Current Matters that will articulate this even better. That's your answer. Okay, that took a lot longer than I wanted to, but here's the one thing I want to show you. Everybody know how to do this, I hope. Ned said I could use his IQO. Story of my afternoon, no internet. And here we are talking to people in 3 states. Figure that one out. Okay. Kimberly, I'm gonna hope you're okay. And then, okay, so this is loading. I'm acting as Ned. How do I find out my deals for the last 2 years? We're trying to get IQO to be bigger and broader, but we only have 2 years of coverage. So if you've been with the company for 4 years, you can only see 2 years. It seems weird to me, but whatever. If you haven't been with the company for 2 years, you obviously can't see 2 years because it doesn't track your production from other companies. Okay, here I am in my file cabinets. This is my homepage on IQO. I go to financial. My file cabinet opens just like a drawer. Isn't that nice? Look at that. Okay. And I'm going to go to my transaction reports. Yours won't look like this because this is still me, even though I'm as Ned, so I get more activity here on the left. So you're just going to go to my transaction reports. And as an agent, you should get a screen that looks like this with a bunch of things that say agent, listing, and leading, and lagging. Okay. I think the best one to use here, well, it depends on what you want to find. You want to find your GCI, you just want to find your production, you want to find all the business, the listings, the closings, the things that got canceled. This page has all of that in here in different reports, okay? And you notice that every other one says year to date. The first one says previous year, then year to date. So again, like Mark, you joined us in June of 2017. If you go to previous year, you're only going to get 6 months worth of activity, not January to July at whatever other company it was, whatever. But all of these are really useful. The 2-year comparison is fun, but I think the best one is, for me, written, closed, canceled, year to date. We'll just look at this. This isn't the best one, but like it breaks it down. It gives you a 30-day average so you can know how you're doing on a monthly basis. Maybe I'll just run through these really quick. Agent transaction ledger year to date. So this one will tell me a ton of stuff like everything I've done, address, all my GCI, adjusted gross income after company dollar, my commissions, how many units. It gives me totals down here. I've got 14 sides at 5 million, 5.1 million. There's my GCI stuff. Great, that's awesome. Maybe though I want to look at listing production detail. I just want to see what I've listed. Here are my listings, okay? It's busier on the buying side. Here's my agent performance detail year to date. It's got active pendings and closed transactions. It doesn't give me all those addresses. It just gives me some totals. And then it goes down here to do all this. But so basically, I'm trying to show you that you can run reports that give you just a ton. I showed you that one. A ton of different information. Is it too much? Maybe, but this, if you wanted to contact all of your buyers and sellers for 2018 and you want them in one nice place, they're all right here, assuming you had all that information in IQO. Agent closed volume year to date, sort of the same stuff here. and so on. So that's all right there in IQO, okay? And that's all entered by Teresa and by accounting and everything. So all of your deals, as well as all of your referral and non-deal business is in there, and will help you get these numbers right, okay? Which report had client information? Jody, I'll send that to you so I don't have to go back to it, but I'll send you what that one was called. Okay, last thing is, with 1 minute left, what is your holiday touch? What are you going to do for your clients between now and the 25th or the 1st? Sooner is better, because think about all the cards that people get. They put them on their mantle. The longer you're up on their mantle, the better. But I'm just hoping that you have some plan for your SOI, maybe the top 30 or 50, maybe top 100, I don't know, that is going to make you stand out in a year when all these other agents are trying to make sure that people think of them as well. We have people in our office that make bread for their top 100 clients. We have people that send handwritten cards, buy them magazine subscriptions. Here's my gift to you. Spend $500. What are you going to spend to make sure that your holiday touch stands out as we move into 2019? And we don't have time to have a bunch of feedback on that, but I really hope you're thinking about how to distinguish yourself in the holiday season. And it's a noisy time, I get that, but do something that stands out. Julie, thanks so much for carrying a lot of this weight. Do you have any last thoughts before we sign off, Julie or Alan? Joni, send me your business plan. It says backwards, I think. Okay. Alan's from England, so he writes backwards, just like he drives backwards. Oh, that's better. Okay. Thanks so much. Get your business plans to your MDs and sales managers, and let's make them work for you in 2019. If you have any follow-up questions or things you need from me, please don't hesitate to email, but I really appreciate everybody being on the call. And we'll get the next Mastermind, because it's supposed to be on Christmas Day, worked out, so be on the lookout for that. Keep up the great work, everybody, and really thanks for all of your participation. Okay? Bye-bye.
Derek.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, Josh.